From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant, part of the WarChant.com family. Use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. Follow us on social media. Twitter's always a good start. War Chant, it's all one word. Wake Up War Chant, it's for the show. You can also find Corey and myself, our handles, on the bio of the Wake Up War Chant page. Wake up, Corey. How are you, man? We're going with Sweet 16 time.
Sweet 16. We got one more weekend till we all head to Minneapolis for the our first Final Four together as a entity, as a War Chant crew, getting to cover Final Four. But first things first, got to take care of Gonzaga. But I'm doing good, buddy. I'm doing good.
We're off to a good start. Call him Gonzaga, Zaga. It's Zaga.
I don't care.
Clearly. So are you
just like Xavier?
Yeah. Are you going to take one for the team and go out to Anaheim? It's going to be so much cheaper and easier if you just fly from Atlanta instead of making poor Ira drive around the state and hop off at a more economic jumping-off spot.
No, I'm not going to do that. Number one, we all know that Corey doesn't like to fly that much, but it's also it will be Brady's spring break starting actually on Thursday. So I'm actually driving down to Tallahassee right now as we speak to help out with a little football coverage. And then we'll be heading back to pick up Brady on Thursday and won't be able to go out to Anaheim. Otherwise, I'd be on that plane in a second.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Well, we're going to make the boss. We're going to make the Don of the Dons, the Shaw of Shaws. We're going to make Gene Williams
we know who the real boss is. It ain't Ira. But, yeah, I was going again. I figure we had to subject him to Hartford for 5 days, which apparently was just kind of like an armpit. So now he gets to go to Southern California. That seems like a nice balancing act there.
I just can't believe Gene's going to have to come help out Friday to do interviews after practice.
Yeah, gonna have to get the big boss out there for sure. Yeah, or me and you can hold it down. I have faith in us.
Has it hit you yet how weird it is that we go to practice and interview guys and we don't even know what they did? I guess you're used to it because that's the way Jimbo did it. But it'd be like me back
college football.
It's just like back in the day, my first job in TV, I had to do a lot of news, so they would send me to City Hall or a court to do cops and crimes, or to do City Hall meetings, city council meetings. And it would be like me going out there and not even know what's on the agenda, and then I have to talk to a city councilman. It's like, so what'd you guys do today, huh? What'd you guys talk about? How'd it go?
Yeah, I think in spring, really all the time, but especially in spring, you're kind of doing it more like
big picture.
It's based on the player. Yeah, it's based on it's big picture, or it's specific to a player. Like, hey, he's trying to become a starter this year. He's put on 25 pounds, or he's lost 30 pounds. It's pretty. You don't really need to know what they did at practice to write that Robert Cooper's trying to lose weight. You know what I mean? And those are kind of the stories that are in the spring anyway. Maybe Jordan Travis. I mean, I assume he's getting a waiver here, so maybe there actually will be a quarterback competition even in the spring before our man Hornswoggle gets into town.
Van Hornswoggle. By the way, Jordan Travis, we don't know whether or not he's received his waiver. We assume, just because it's hard to imagine it getting rejected, if Tate Martell is going to be our litmus test, we would assume that Jordan Travis will get his. And as soon as it happens, or at least as soon as we can confirm it, which means it's legit, it'll be on WarChant.com. Again, use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to WarChant.com. All right, Corey, let's get back to what really matters right now. That's hoops. Sorry, everybody. And that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek because our numbers go down when it's just basketball. I don't know what's wrong with you people. The team that you love, the university that you love, the programs that you love are thriving right now on the biggest stage of them all. Man, I could do a whole show right now, Corey, just talking about the UCF Duke game and what Ryan Izzo's dad, Tom, did in the opener. But we're going to talk about the Florida State side of stuff. Obviously, they took down Vermont, but since we last talked, they did punch the ticket, or rather scan the ticket. They scanned their boarding pass to the Sweet 16 in Anaheim. I'm going to admit something I probably shouldn't. I put a 6-team parlay together, just like $1 with crazy odds, just so I could make like $100. And part of my 6-game parlay was that Murray State was going to cover. I thought Murray State was going to keep it close. I just seeing what they did to Marquette, not even really knowing what Marquette's all about, but knowing they had that Howard kid who's a scorer. But just seeing the way John Morant played. Shaq Buchanan is actually a kid from Madison, like their number 2 option. He's from Madison, Mississippi, which is a town I used to cover. So I'm like, yeah, they'll probably give Florida State a chance. And Florida State's not one to cover even when they do win, which is, fine. But, man, I mean, you want to talk about never in doubt. That game could not have played out any better. Leonard Hamilton's strategy, tip the cap, dop the cap, whatever you want to do. I think Murray State's coach went ahead and called him one of the most underrated coaches of our time, put him in the Hall of Fame. To go into a game of that magnitude and pretty much say, okay, we'll let John Morant score. We'll let the scorer score and do what he wants to do, but we're going to find a way to defeat them regardless. But to do it in that fashion, absolutely immaculate game planning, execution, and I was beyond surprised that Florida State was able to win in that such fashion.
What was the spread?
4.5.
Oh, man, you thought it was coming down to the final minute then.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be kind of like the Vermont game, but Vermont might, this Murray State maybe hit a 3 or so to keep it close, nip tuck it the whole way.
Was that the only one you missed?
No, I forgot what the other one I missed was. I think.
Oh, okay. So Florida State didn't cost you money,
no,
really.
So it was a bad story regardless. But anywho.
Sure. Oh yeah. Going to the game. Yeah, man, that was Florida State. Florida State made Murray State look worse than it is. Like Murray State looked completely overmatched, and they aren't. I mean, they're a good team. They beat Marquette, who was a 5 seed.
They destroyed Marquette.
Yeah, convincingly. And it wasn't John Morant hitting a bunch of threes. It was him with 16 or 17 assists or whatever it was. Because he's got guys that can shoot and can play. But they don't have a ton of guys. Certainly not on Florida State level. And, I say that, what Florida State did, it was pretty remarkable what they did to that kid, especially in the second half, just kind of, I know he made some shots, and he's definitely made some threes to start the game, but that's not what he does, and that's not what their offense is. And it was almost like, weirdly, that was the best thing that could have happened to Florida State, was it becoming the Josh show. And then all of a sudden, anytime anybody else got the ball from Murray State, they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't attack, they weren't aggressive, and when they did, they got to put it right back in their face. Even by my man Wyatt Wilkes throwing it out of, throwing it away from when a guy takes a shot at the rim. Get that out of here.
Like, Kumaji was really upset at him. I felt like secondhand embarrassment, uncomfortability for Wilkes because, like, Kumaji was really angry at him.
Well, yeah, but he did swat a kid's shot, which is cool for Wyatt Wilkes that he was playing in the game that mattered, in moments that mattered in the first half.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd have done that if they were playing Marquette. I think maybe they thought they could steal some minutes with Wilkes and Polite against an OVC team, an Ohio Valley Conference team. I think that's where they're from. I'm not great with conferences.
Yeah, you're right.
But, okay, good, sweet. I don't know, is the Ohio Valley, I guess I don't know geography that well. Does that cover, like, all of the southeast? Because Murray State's not in Ohio.
It's Kentucky, though.
Most of those schools aren't in Ohio.
Yeah. Well, there's, like, the Tennessee Valley includes, I think, like, Huntsville, which is Alabama, so.
Oh, it's a big valley, then.
Yeah.
Where's the peaks? Where's the peaks in Ohio? Anyway, so, yeah, overall, I thought that was as impressive as they've looked in a long time. And it wasn't just the shooting, but that helped. I think he got lost because of the score was so big, but Raekwon Gray was huge for them in the first half.
Oh, yeah.
Again, he hit the first shot of the game for them. He had a steal and a score. I mean, I think he had 3 threes in the first half and finished with 11 points. Because in the second half it got away from him. But there in the first half, the building was into it. The building was looking for an upset, and John Morant couldn't miss. And things can get away from you in the first half. Now, they were never going to get blown out, Florida State, and they probably were never going to lose, but it could have gotten uncomfortable. But Raekwon Gray kept them in it, and then I don't even know what else you can say about Terance Mann. I mean, that guy,
legend.
Those first 2 games, just clutch as can be, making play after play, making great passes, great decisions. And overall, yeah, I mean, what Florida State can do that Marquette couldn't do is they ran a lot of dudes at him. They ran a lot of guys at Morant. If there's one position that's going to be really hard for a great player to have a huge game and really dominate, to me it would be guard, like a point guard kid. Because you got M.J. Walker, who did not score in that game, but played really well on the defensive end. They ran Polite at him. They ran Vassell at him. They had Forrest on him. They would switch and have Gray on him. They just were. They threw so many bodies at him that by about 12 or 14 minutes to go in the game, he was just done. Which I don't blame him. I mean, they weren't going to win, but he was walking up the court. He wasn't really asking for the ball, and they kind of took his will. It took their will because they were really good. That was Florida State doesn't typically win that emphatically in the NCAA tournament, but that was impressive. It was so impressive, it almost became like dismissive. Like, oh, well, whatever. They just beat Murray State. No big. I mean, they beat Murray State like a drum. You just said it. They were a 4.5 point favorite.
Florida State
wasn't like they were beating, Winthrop, or whoever, Texas San Antonio. That was a really good team with a great player, and Florida State beat them like a drum.
Are you holding the phone next to your mouth now? Did you switch off Bluetooth?
No, yeah, it's on my mouth. It's next to my mouth. Should I be on Bluetooth?
No, you sound like you were audio improved greatly in the last 30 seconds. Maybe you're in a big city now. Maybe you're outside.
Yeah, I'm off 475. I guess I'm past Macon, but I'm on 75. I'm getting great signal strength now.
Yeah, there we go. All right, taking you folks behind the curtain here on Wake Up War Chant. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening.
There's a Wendy's right there on the side on that road. If I'd have gotten off, anyway, still had a Waffle House.
Back to Terance Mann. What can we say about him? We have to try to say more. In the midst of this, the anxiety of the tournament run that's before Florida State, we talked about health, right? Obviously, Phil wasn't able to play the Vermont game, didn't give it a go against Murray State. We don't know his status for this coming weekend in Anaheim that starts against Gonzaga. We've talked ad nauseum about Trent Forrest and what he's having to deal with, and thought he played his guts out as well. But Terance has also had some foot injury bothering him this whole season. And to see the way he's played ever since Charlotte, really, that shot he hit against Virginia Tech to win the game, just the fact he's been able to build off of that. And I guess to a certain point, he doesn't have the flash of the other guys he came, and you wrote so well about that. He was the other man in that class of Bacon and Beasley. But for him to be this sort of glue program guy, sort of, who you want guys to play like Terance, carry themselves like Terance. But for him to play like a star now, that gives Florida State a boost that I wasn't really counting on. But to see him playing in this way, I don't know how sustainable it is. But the fact that he's able to help push them through this first weekend, maybe other guys start getting healthy. Maybe Phil starts coming around. Maybe a guy like Vassell is going to have a spot to fill and find and hit some big shots. It's just it speaks to the depth of the program, what Leonard's built, and Terance is the shining example of it all. And it's just incredible what Florida State basketball is right now, and he's a large part of the reason why.
Yeah, I think if there's a player to really focus on, I think Snare probably for the first run of Leonard Hamilton's career, I think Snare probably is the one that people remember the most because of the shots and what he did at the ACC tournament, and when they won the ACC championship, and he played in 3 NCAA tournaments. I think he's the guy. I think Terance Mann is the one from this run. I think 15, 20 years from now, people will. I don't know if you remember it as Terance Mann's team, especially if Cabangeli goes and has a career like he could in the NBA. But he's the guy that I think is going to be synonymous with this stretch. Because, again, he's won, I think he's been a part of 97 or 98 wins, which is a school record. And, he does it on the big stage. Those 2 wins, Vermont's a good team. I mean, they just beat 2 conference champions, good conference champions. Now, I will say this. It's not going to be nearly as easy moving forward, obviously, because you're not going to be playing teams from the America East or the OVC. So you're going to be facing more size. So he won't be able to dominate inside and dominate at the rim and get quite as many putbacks as maybe he did the first weekend. But, again, he plays so hard. And the calling card of Leonard Hamilton's program here now for the last 3 or 4 years 3 years probably specifically, is the just unselfishness. Like literally, Terance Mann could go a half and take one shot and not care, just not care. MJ Walker didn't score in that game against, and now he tried a few times there, probably too many times early. But once he wasn't hitting, he made a behind the back pass to Cabangeli. He made another one on a nice slip move by Cabangeli for a dunk. He played really hard defensively. Even if they're not playing well offensively, these players, they still play so hard defensively. They play so hard for each other. It's really good to see. Now, I don't know that they can beat Gonzaga, Zags, that's right. Not the Zogs. They don't call them the Zogs. I don't know if they can beat Gonzaga without Nichols and Kofor in the rotation. Those guys are really important guys. They're shot makers, and they're also, Kofor especially is a guy that really can help on defense if he's healthy. That said, man, just getting to a Sweet 16 2 years in a row is great, and they also do have a week. Both of those guys have at least a week to recover, and I know Nichols warmed up like he was going to play on Saturday, so you would hope with 5 more days, same with Kofor, you would hope with 5 or 6 more days they might be more obviously healthier and closer to being 100% where they can actually play.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've gone about 15 minutes into the show. We don't even talk about David Nichols not being available, and that's obviously huge. And his status is something that we'll have to definitely monitor as things start progressing here. What I guess I kind of want to ask you now is you mentioned about Gonzaga and just the fact that they're here again. This tournament is such a crazy, beautiful disaster of a way to determine a champion. And we always talk, people talk about, would you rather win the NIT or go to the tournament and lose your first game? Like, anything now to me is an absolute bonus. Like, just getting to the second weekend is so huge, is such a huge accomplishment, man, whether you're Kansas or whether you're Florida State. So what I wonder is, did Florida State, did they play above their heads against Murray State, or are they hitting what Leonard keeps referring to here in the last week or so is like that magical gear, that magical level that special teams seem to find once this tournament rolls around? I feel it's more so the latter than it was some sort of emotional lift from what Phil dealt with, which obviously factored into their play. But I feel like this is more of like Florida State hitting their stride, performing at their potential, hitting and maximizing their ceiling rather than some sort of romantic, storybook performance in Phil's father's memory.
Yeah, I think the deal with Florida State is they're going to play hard defensively. They're so well coached on that end of the floor typically. If you're not going to just shoot some crazy threes, you're going to have a hard time scoring. If they can hit shots themselves, they can do that to almost anybody.
Yeah.
They beat Virginia Tech. They beat Virginia comfortably. Virginia's, really good. They beat them comfortably. They almost beat Duke if they could have gotten a rebound on a free throw. So they can play with anyone in the country and beat anyone in the country when they shoot well. And that certainly includes whoever's the 3 other teams in Anaheim with them and everybody that's left in the tournament. You're looking at, they beat 4 teams that are in the Sweet 16. With Virginia, I'm assuming Virginia's going to win. I saw the score; they were up pretty good. So we'll go ahead and assume, dear listener, that they won. Virginia Tech, LSU, and Purdue. That's 4 Sweet 16 teams, and Florida State beat them all. It was a missed free throw rebound away from beating Duke, which was in their 5th Sweet 16. They can play with anyone. I firmly believe that. Now they can lose if they don't shoot well, or if other team gets hot. That's what can be so frustrating and beautiful about this tournament. And look, man, all you have to do is look at the Duke game. Obviously, Duke is more talented than Central Florida. Duke has 3 first-round picks. And I thought Duke played pretty well, other than the one kid that just kept shooting threes because they dared him to, the point guard who's great defensively, but hey, you're a better shooter. But then Central Florida just got hot and couldn't hit. The Dawkins kid couldn't miss. And all of a sudden you're staring at the best player you've ever had, literally the best, the most talented player that Mike Krzyzewski has ever coached, is staring at losing the game to Central Florida in the second round because one kid just went off for 32 points. Yeah. That happens. Now pushes in the back on missed free throws happen and maybe charges that aren't called and Duke could probably win. I think they're obviously still the favorite to win the national championship. They won that game by literally half an inch. If that kid just tips it a half an inch further to the right off the glass.
Brutal.
They lost. There's Central Florida, who's a 9 seed, who lost to a bunch of kind of average teams this year. So that's the beauty of this tournament. Everybody left, really almost to, maybe not the Oregon or UC Irvine, but everybody else, the other 15 teams that are in this thing, can win the whole thing. And Florida State certainly is in that group. It might be a little harder for them, like I said, because of the health issues. But still, if they get hot, they've got a lot of talent, and they can win, and they play defense. I think what we saw this past weekend is what Florida State is. I mean, we got to think about it now. I think they're 16-2 now in their last 18 games. And their 2 losses were at North Carolina and at Duke. Essentially, the Duke game was in Charlotte.
Right.
And they were in both those games with about 8 minutes to go. They can hang and beat anyone. This is who they are. Beating Virginia Tech, beating Virginia, beating John Morant, beating a Vermont team they could not miss. That's the thing, man. Vermont did everything they were supposed to do to pull off one of those magical upsets. 16 threes is nuts. And they lost double digits almost. I mean, that's how good Florida State is. I think maybe Florida State, I don't know. I was going to talk about Cabangeli's future. But that guy, not to get lost in the Terance Mann stuff, but Cabangeli,
oh, yeah.
I mean, he had back-to-back possessions where he slipped for a dunk. He might have gotten an offensive rebound and dunked, and then on the next possession popped a 3. I mean, there aren't a ton of guys that have come through this program like Fiondu Cabangeli. And real quick, I wanted to touch back on Terance Mann just because it occurred to me just now. I don't know that I think I assume that everybody lives on Twitter, so they saw that clip or on War Chant, and they saw that clip of Terance Mann talking at the post-game press conference.
Terrence, how can you describe your matching up against Ja, both on the offensive and defensive ends? And how personal was this game? You showed a real lot of emotion on the court. How much were you feeling it out there?
I wouldn't call it a personal matchup or anything. I just brought the fight. What I did was the night before was Google and YouTube Mike Kofer, my teammate's father who passed, and just saw how hard he played, how much fight he gave on the field. And I just wanted to bring that with me. And I feel like that's what I did today. I played my heart out for that. And, yeah.
Man, it's just not normal. That kind of attitude isn't normal. That kind of relationship between 2 teammates isn't normal, or all of them really. It's just, and number one, it speaks to Terance Mann, and I don't know if he'll have his number hung from the rafters. I don't think he's quite in that elite group of Sura and Cassell. But he should definitely be in the FSU Hall of Fame, and he will always be remembered fondly, and that says so much about that kid. For him to break, almost, it seemed like he got really emotional talking about it, and to dedicate it to his teammate's dad. But then also it says so much about what Leonard's built in that program and how much they really do cheer for each other. Just, again, you got to see them cheer so much for the walk-ons. Who would have thought that would have happened in the second round? But anyway, so that no matter what happens this weekend, again, this program looks like it's built for a long haul. Now, a lot of that comes into recruiting, but the way they play for each other, that is the DNA that's in the DNA of this program now, and I don't think it's going away. I think that's just part. When you come to Florida State, you're going to play. You're going to play because everybody does, but you're also not going to play 38 minutes most likely. But you're going to apparently fall in love with the dudes on your basketball team because they just cheer for each other like you just don't see it a lot in basketball. It's fun to cover. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I was going to say, I doubt Ira's going to put up much of a fight having to go to Anaheim and continue to cover this team while we blindly fire off questions to the football team. But that's neither here nor there. What I did want to fall back on, those things where we talk about whether it's football or baseball, we always gripe about Florida State always does this. We act like they're the only team that does it. For as much as we boast and laud them defensively, I had this huge problem with the fact that I just feel they bite on head fakes. They get so aggressive that they try to close out and run to the wings on the baseline and just violently, erratically just jump into the air trying to block shots in vain and are so out of position, draw bad fouls. But in watching this tournament, like every team does that. So I feel, I mean, not that I ever second guess the defensive quality of Florida State, but that was something I would watch throughout the season. I'm like, man, they're always like MJ Walker's always jumping crazy, like on a bad exchange, and just throwing his body, trying to get in front of a shot and gets a foul. And I'm like, every single person does that. Tangentially to that, was that last call on Taco Fell, was that a foul? Should that have been foul number 5? Like, what did he even do? What did that poor guy even do?
I think he leaned his arms a little forward. I thought maybe Zion kind of blocked the kid that was guarding him out of the way to get the Taco. But I thought he leaned his arms forward, and honestly, he definitely fouled him earlier in the game and got away with it. So my bigger problem, and the only reason I bring it up is because we remember how Florida State lost, is when you watch the replay of his missed free throw, R.J. Barrett shoved the guy on the left block. Now, people, you can look at it and say, oh, it's a subtle shove, or I don't see much. The dude on the left block for UCF that's trying to block out R.J. Barrett somehow ends up on the other side of the basket. Now, either he is the most uncoordinated, unathletic Division I athlete in recorded history and doesn't know how to jump straight up to go get a rebound, or he got pushed a little bit as he was jumping up, and that made him jump sideways instead of up to get the ball. That's fine, and then but what I thought was really interesting, and I really want to go back and watch the missed free throw that R.J. Barrett had before the Cam Reddish 3 when Phil Kofer couldn't secure it. I'd like to see what they did to Kofer as he was trying to pull down that rebound, because if you watch the replay of that missed free throw, the dude number 12, Delorier or DeLorean, whatever his name is, he's kind of a for Duke, he's kind of a scrub. He locks the guy's arm that's trying to block him out, like literally grabs his arm and pulls him. It's just basically, it is absolute apocalyptic mayhem on free throws in college basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, they will let those kids, especially late in the game, you can get away. You can take out a hammer and hit a kid in the back. They ain't calling it. As long as you're subtle. As long as it looks like maybe he did it to himself, like maybe it's his hammer, they're not gonna call it. You can do whatever you want if your teammate is shooting a free throw and you're trying to get a rebound. Jump on his shoulders, punch him in the sternum, punch him in the kidney, knee him in the butt. Anything you want to do, you can do. But hey, I think the tournament's cooler with Duke in it than not in it.
Yeah, for sure.
And ACC, man, how about the ACC? Got 5 teams in there.
Yeah, Virginia's up 11 with a minute and a half. We feel good about Virginia.
Sharpie, they're in.
Although they almost, the Gardner-Webb first half thing was a little bit ridiculous.
Man, that's crazy. They got that out of their system, let's hope. But yeah, they're really good. Obviously, that hasn't changed. North Carolina was dominant in the second half, and Duke. I think that might have been their one scare. Like, I think we might look back. I have a feeling we might look back at the end of when they're doing the one shining moment, and that will be like Michigan hitting that crazy 3-pointer last year in the second round
against Houston.
Was that? I think that was Houston.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Florida State might be playing Houston to go to the Final Four. Instead, they had to play a Michigan team that felt like they were the Destiny's Child. Now, I know they didn't win it because they ran into a buzzsaw, but I think we might be looking back and saying that was Duke was that close to being ousted in the second round, and then they ended up cutting down debts. Yeah. And I'll watch Zion for a couple more games. I don't care. They got Virginia Tech next.
Yeah, they do, because Liberty lost.
Liberty. Man, my kid would not. Brady, and every time.
Shout out, Brady. Shout out.
Every time. He's like, and then he got my mom doing it. And so, like, he goes, Daddy, who's Virginia Tech playing again? And I was on my phone. I'm like, man, Liberty, you're watching it. And he goes, no, they're not playing Liberty. They're playing Liberty. And my mom started doing it with him, too.
My man.
So, good times all around. By the way, Brady, you want to talk about crushing defeats, folks. Like, Central Florida fans, fine. I get it. You were a tip-in away from beating Duke. Sure, great. Brady's team, in an elimination game, they were in the winner's bracket, first game of the day, had a 12-1 lead in the last inning. 12-1. And gave up 13 runs. 13 unanswered. I mean, 10-year-olds, when they melt down, they melt down.
Jeez.
And Brady was a part of it. He came in to pitch, walked 3 kids, and gave up a hit. So and he was part of it too, but there were errors, there were good hits, there was crazy plays plays at home, and then they still got to hit. That was the problem. They still got a chance to hit, and they'd already scored 12 runs, and no, that was ball game.
Oh.
So it was fun. It freed up my Sunday, though. I got to watch basketball.
There you go. Hey, speaking of baseball, real quick, Florida State took 2 of 1. They won the series. That's how most people would say it. They won the series against Notre Dame, 2 games to 1. Drew Parrish sort of returned to his Mr. Friday Night form. That was a good thing to see. It became a doubleheader on Saturday because of the weather, and then they played Game 3 of the rubber match on Sunday. The back half of the doubleheader was not good. I think it was 12-1 they lost, 12-2 maybe. C.J. Van Eyck struggled mightily, not good. Shane Drohan, though, for his part, did pretty well on Sunday, so I'm not saying they're going to swap roles or anything like that, but it's obviously good to see the back half of your starting rotation maybe start firming up a little bit. I mean, they didn't even have 1 RBI on Sunday, and they still won the game. They scored on a pass ball, wild pitch, scored the first run, and then the eventual go-ahead and insurance runs were scored on an error by the shortstop at Notre Dame. But I guess better than Florida State. And at this point, you got to just start stacking some wins, maybe get on track to get the 40-win monkey off your back sooner than later. And just for confidence, I mean, obviously going up there, pretty darn cold, ACC opponent. I think that was the first ACC series Notre Dame had lost all season. So, again, as always, underestimate Mike Martin and the baseball team and march at your own peril.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing, though, well, there's 2 takeaways for me. Van Eyck, man, I don't know what's going on. More like Van Yuck.
Ooh.
But we got to get that kid figured out because he's too good to be this bad. And I don't know if it means they just, last year he didn't really start. He was the long release guy. And maybe he's just more comfortable in that role. I don't know, but the guy has you just can't be a Saturday night guy. You can't have the stuff that he has and be as good as he was last year and then look like this. Like he's not even really giving his team a chance. It was good to see Parrish come back. And I shouldn't say he's not giving his team a chance. That was 1 game. But he hasn't been a dominant guy, and he's shown that he can be dominant. He hasn't even been average. That's got to get figured out, or they got to do something else in that role. It was good to see Parrish do that. And on Sunday they had a 1-hitter.
Yep.
I think Drohan and Connor Grady and J.C. Flowers combined to throw a 1-hitter. And I would say the guy that was in the middle of everything on Sunday, which was good to see, was Cabell. I think he got the triple and then scored on the wild pitch for their only run in regulation, if you want to call it that, the first 9 innings. And then it's something that you might roll your eyes at. I get it. But I think it was him anyway. I think he was the guy that was up, second, third, 2 outs. He's the one that hits the ball to the shortstop. And then he busted his butt down the line, and he can run. So the shortstop knows he has to rush the throw, and he ends up throwing it past the first baseman, and it throws it in the dirt. But my point there is he put the ball in play. And, we got to this point in baseball in the last decade, it seems, where all the baseball nerds, and I'm almost one but not quite, don't seem to have a problem with strikeouts. Like, hey, man, an out is an out. That's fine. But what you assume there is every out, when you put the ball in play, your chances of getting a hit improve exponentially.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just put the ball in play. And to say that a strikeout is just like any other out isn't true because that assumes that every time you put the ball in play, it's going to be an out. Again, I would imagine Cabell's batting average on balls put in play is probably 500 because he hits the tar out of the ball, but he strikes out too much. All of them, most of them do.
Good grief, 11. So they struck out 11 times on Sunday.
They do that every game. And when you think about it from a pragmatic perspective, that's almost 4 innings of not hitting the baseball. That's 4 innings of trust me, it's from a travel ball parent that just watch 10-year-olds kick it around for a 13-run inning. If you put pressure on the defense and make them make plays, or there will be times where a shortstop throws it away. It's almost like, and I get that's kind of the philosophy now. And when you are as patient as them, you're going to take some called strikes. You're also going to work a lot of walks. They don't swing a lot early in the count. Fair, I get it. But it's really important to start putting the ball in play more. You just have to. And for him to do that in that spot instead of striking out, just putting the ball in play, and sometimes good things happen. So good job, Elijah.
There you go. Very encouraging note you went off on there.
And the women got bounced in the second round.
They did.
Mention that too.
Good season for them, though. They lost all 5 starters from last year. I don't think they had one senior on the roster, so good showing by the Lady Noles. I mean, South Carolina's a really good program.
They were in it with South Carolina until, I guess, like the final minute. I didn't get to watch the game, and apparently, does ESPN not broadcast them anymore? They just do, like, whip-around coverage?
No, I think they do.
Oh, wait, it wasn't on in Atlanta. The only thing that was on in Atlanta was whip-around coverage. So they would flash to it, but then they'd go to another game. Then I could tell. I couldn't find it on my guide. But anyway, apparently there was some odd calls there in the final minute. But the thing about them, like you mentioned, they don't lose anyone. They got the whole team coming back, and they also are bringing in they're bringing in 3 McDonald's All-Americans.
Yeah.
So a team that was a 5 seed, they gave South Carolina all it wanted in the second round, is bringing everyone back and also adding 3 McDonald's All-Americans, including one of them is a girl that redshirted this year because she got hurt. That's going to be their point guard. That's like this flashy Brazilian. So she should be fun to watch. But yeah, man, what Sue's done, Sue's obviously had more sustained success than Leonard has. Hasn't been as choppy. I think they've been in the tournament now 13 of 14 years. But man, Leonard. Like, I want Leonard to get to a Final Four. I really want Sue to get to a Final Four, too. That's the one thing that's missing. And maybe next year, with what they have coming back and the recruiting class and the girl that redshirted, maybe they got a shot. But, hey, you know what? The men have a shot this weekend, my man.
Boom. They do. Also, softball swept NC State at home, including 2 shutouts on Friday and Sunday. They are now 32-3 on the year. That's really good. People keep asking us to bring Coach Alameda on the show. I will effort that. Probably once football's over, which is like 2 more weeks, right? Like we got this weekend and then next weekend's the Garnet and Gold game, right?
That's right, buddy. I can't decide if I'm going to take Brady to that or not. I guess I probably will. He'll be in because it's a spring break that week, so that whole week. So what I'm going to try to do is bring him to a practice, see if he can say what's up to Tamorian. Obviously, Tamorian's my guy, so I'll have Brady get his autograph and Marvin's, and then take him to the spring game.
What about James Blackman?
What?
What about James Blackman?
Well, yeah, him too. But Tamorian's my guy. Tamorian's go. I don't know if James Blackman's going to be in Canton. We both know that Scary Terry's going to be there.
Right on. All right.
Thanks largely to our push to get more balls thrown to him.
Good point.
I hope that's not forgotten, Aslan. When they tell the tale of Tamorian Terry, and he gets his own 30 for 30, I hope what we did for him is not forgotten.
I don't think it will be. We'll be a footnote, obviously, which we don't want to be anything more than that, but we will be a footnote.
Right. But an important one,
yes.
For sure.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'll meet you at the football practice fields in a few hours, all right?
I can't wait to see you.
All
and
right.
I apologize, everyone, that I'm on the phone. The next one I will be in the Midtown Studios, and you'll get to hear me, my sweet, soothing voice loud and crystal clear.
I cannot wait. He's Corey Maslow. Thanks so much for listening, everybody.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.